So how old were you when you first heard hip hop?
First heard hip hop. I was young, man. Like, I'd probably say 5th grade, maybe 4th grade. And it was actually just a block away here on 49th. And my brother had he had the NWA tape, the new one at the time. And he said never repeat any of these words you hear, because my mom and dad were gone. And then when he said that, I like told myself I gotta memorize every lyric to this. And yeah, that's when I first heard hip hop.
And how old were you when you went to your first hip hop concert?
Actually, it's crazy because my first concert, I actually got to go. I was 13, and I actually got to go as like a friend of someone who was performing. Because I used to run, when I was 13, I organized these things called hoops and hip hop tournaments, and they were at Berkeley Park right over here. And what I did was I had like MC battles, basketball teams sign up, and then we play music as they played, kind of like the N1 tournaments back in the day. And then we'd have DJ and MC battles at halftime, and then we donated all the money to Make-A-Wish.
Oh wow!
And I was just 13 at the time, and I was like sneaking off prints in this library actually, because you didn't have to log in. So I took so much paper from here probably when I was little, and then I called up, like, this is when there was like payphones on Lowell. I called up like And1, their 800 number, and I asked them to sponsor. And then they did. They sent out a banner, they sent out shirts, flyers. I got Slam magazine, filled up my mom's porch. I was like this 13-year-old, and we had like 50 boxes of Slam magazine come to the house. And that's when I called up Wanna Battle Records, and that was Main Flow, and he's from Mood. They're from Cincinnati, and that's who like first got Quality to start, and High Tech was working with them too. And when I called up Wanna Battle, he was like, "You're part of the team now, man. Like, you're cool. You're this young kid doing this." He's like, "You're in the family." And I was like, "Wow, this is crazy." So then when I was 13, they came out here. So Main Flow came, The Last Emperor came. You heard him?
I think
The Last Emperor, he like never got too big, but he was...
He's featured on some of Quali's, well, I'm sure earlier work, but I heard him, I think it was like a 2007 album with Quali.
Yeah, some of his stuff, yeah. And then he's the one, he did a track with Rage Against the Machine and KRS-One back in the day. And that's why Last Emperor got known. So Last Emperor came, Dead Prez came before they were big, Medusa from the West Coast, and J. Rue the Damager. And they were all at La Rumba nightclub downtown. And they were showing this documentary on Mumia Abu Jamal. And then I met this director. I was like this young kid, and they like got me in like backstage. And then like I was like, whoa. So I learned about Mumia like a bunch that night. Like I knew about it, but I didn't know like people who knew him. And then Dead Prez, I had always liked them, and they were super cool. They were like, "What's your name?" Like, "You're this little kid." And then they asked me if I wanted to drop a verse on Main Flow's set. So then I got to perform at my first rap show too. And I had this one verse that I had memorized, and like everyone dug it because I was like this little white kid, and they were like, "What is this? This is weird." And then right after that, I got kicked out because I was too young. And then they moved the merch booth outside so I could help sell it out there.
Right on.
So that was my first experience.
Sounds like a lot happened between like 5th grade hearing that first NWA
Yeah.
tape and 13 organizing these huge events, hoop and hip hop. What inspired you? What inspired you to kind of move with the movement?
Well, like before, like in between NWA and the tournaments, I was into like Tupac, Dre, Cube, DMX. I was really into DMX and like Will Smith. Like, so I was listening to this like mainstream type stuff. And then I got an And One mixtape on a VHS back in the day, and there was a song, "Do It Now" by Mos Def and Busta Rhymes was on there.
Do It Now.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
how do you feel? I thought one.
Yeah, and he's like, we the two hottest Negroes from Los Estados Unidos. Yeah. So when I heard that track, I was like, this is crazy. This is different. So then I had to find out who it was, and that's when I found out it was Mos Def, and I bought Black on Both Sides. And that just changed my life. It took me down this whole other path of hip hop, and I like related to it more, because it was like conscious, like the old stuff I used to listen to, like KRS, but it was like new, and that's what really got me into the whole different path. Then I got into Kweli, Shabam Shadiq, Pharoah Monch, all them. And then I really got into the culture. I learned the 4 elements and how it came from gangs in New York, and it was about positivity. And like when I was 10 at that same park, I saw a guy get stabbed to death, and like his whole guts like came out in front of me. And I was like this little kid, and I like hated like violence at that point. And I think I probably had like PTSD because like I didn't talk that much. And then yeah, I just wanted to like, then I wanted to play basketball too, and there was no tournaments up here in this neighborhood because it's like really poor, just really kind of violent neighborhood. So we were like, let's just make our own. So that was like our own DIY attitude, which was like underground hip hop too. Like just do it yourself, don't wait to get signed, just release it.
So could you speak more on the culture and the birth of it that you learned about, and what avenues you took to learn about it?
Yeah, so I learned about it from some people from the Zulu Nation who were, so this neighborhood was primarily Hispanic. Well, it used to be Italian, it was Italian Hispanic. And then in the 60s and 70s, you had the Crusade for Justice up here, and they're the Brown Berets. And they were from like La Raza, and they're fighting against police brutality and racism up here. And then the Black Panthers came to help them. So then like, I started learning about that culture, and then I went to this event, and there was these guys from the Zulu Nation, and they were graffiti artists in this area. And then they told me about some book to read, and they told me about the history. And I forget the name of the book. I think it's called Hip Hop Nation, I'm not sure. But it explained, like it started with South Bronx, with Cool Herc and Bombada. And back then it was all just gangs. And then they were called the Black Spades, and they were a violent gang, just doing what they had to do, get money, and you know, sometimes that meant robbing someone or selling drugs. And then they started like, no, we want to get away from this because it's messing up our community. So that's when they started having parties and to raise money, like DJing, and that's when they became the Zulu Kings. And then from there, they transferred into the Zulu Nation, and that was Cool Herc and Bombada. So they took that gang to like art, and then that's when all the graffiti was going on in the late 70s too. That was like time of the Vietnam War, and then you had Reagan coming in, and like all that had spawned off of like all that white supremacy that was going on throughout the nation, still going on now, but back then that was like the response to it, because all the racism and segregation. And you couldn't even get a home loan in New York if you were a minority in certain areas till like, I think it was the 70s. So it was just like their way to fight back.
So out of like the 3 core teachings of Zulu Nation, like peace, love, and unity, which one spoke loudest to you?
I really liked, what I liked was unity.
Think having fun and having fun.
Yeah, peace, love, unity, and having fun. Yeah, the Soul Sonic Force. I always liked unity, because like I had seen, I had just been taught by so many people around here about racism. I just hated it when I was young. And then I always had like this different perspective, because I was like usually one of the only like white kids in my school, in North Denver schools. So a lot of people were like, you know, forget you, you know, white boy or something. I get beat up because I was white at school, and it made me conscious of like why I was white and like maybe what that meant.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
Hey, how's it going, Kelly?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Filming a little interview for a
Good.
school project. And this is Bruce.
how's
to
it
meet
going?
you.
Nice to meet you too.
What were you saying?
He's filming an interview for a school project.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Going really good so
hopefully
far.
you can edit me out from being here.
No, it keeps it real.
Yeah.
It's a staff lounge.
I love when like when I'm in the studio with like Danny, or like the time I recorded with Everett, where it's like, you know, you get like one of the times, or like it happened twice, where like Danny had like never heard the verse before, and I just like told him to put on the beat, and then like told him to record, and like I like spit like a dope bar, like spit a dope line, and just hear him in the background like, oh, and like we just like, nah, don't edit it out. Like,
Yeah.
it adds to the authenticity.
You gotta keep those. Those are perfect.
But yeah, like I feel like that's very powerful, simply because you know, you get people from like who get stuck in these homogenous communities, you know, and they like there's like they preach at Regis in certain corners of like academic realms that, you know, like the superior race cannot experience racism, and I just think that's backwards, because that, to me, that seems racist, you know, to say that, like, you know, like this is the status quo, this is like the propelling ideology of the times that has been like propelled through this race or from this race, so therefore like they can't experience racism. And that's like, to me, that's like a very broad general statement, because that's assuming that that person of this race is like in this bubble, or like in this like safe kind of atmosphere where like they're not being exposed, or better yet, where because they're the majority, they can never be in a situation where where they are the minority, you know? And that's very not true. They can be like as you were saying, you know, like I'm assuming like in these situations where people were excluding you based off of your race, like you were like the minority of the situation.
Yeah, like, well, let me see how to explain it. Because, yeah, like, once you get into race, though, it's so dynamic and complex. But, like, I grew up working class, so we were, like, working class poor, too, which changes stuff, changes perspectives. But then you also have to look at the structure. So even though I experienced racism, they all were, too, more so. Because you look at the structure of America, its foundation is white supremacist, like a white supremacist capitalist nature, and that is super oppressive on anyone who's not white. So even though I was experiencing racism, the structure of white supremacy was still in my favor. So, like, I had a block away here one night when I got older, I pulled into these cops were following me, and I pulled into my mom's driveway, and then the cops surrounded me with their guns out and told me I had weed. And then I told them, like, no, they asked to search my car, and I said no, and then he ripped out he pulled me out of my driver's side window by my hair. Pulled out my hair, and then my mom came outside, and he said, like, get the fuck back inside, to my mom. I was pissed off. And then they cuffed me, and they searched my car, they didn't find anything. Then they wrote me a ticket for a broken windshield after they broke it with their flashlight. And then, so you see that also like ties into this area, which is a class area. But looking at the white supremacist background, I'm alive, right? I just lost some hair. I didn't lose my life. Like a lot of people who get racially profiled, they lose their life. Trayvon Martin, you know, Mike Brown, Freddie Gray, all those people. And then the school to prison pipeline as well. So I still have that privilege of being a white person. But yeah, but I think really it takes a lot of reflection to see through those.
And did hip hop help you in that reflection?
No, yeah,
reflection?
Exactly. I really blame that for helping me decode my so-called reality and seeing through stuff, seeing through the propaganda systems that our whole society is made up of, and it gave me a different lens, and it gave me a different perspective. And it actually, I feel like it was my real education. Because at public school, I learned Columbus was the best, George Washington was amazing, he never told a lie. The reason we don't have slavery is because of Lincoln, and like everything was blamed on these white guys for our greatness. And then when I listened to hip hop, I would hear like Columbus was like, he committed a genocide. I'd hear about Malcolm X instead of so much of Martin Luther King. I learned about the Panthers through hip hop. Never in school would I learn about the Panthers. So then through it gave me a political vocab too in the background. Like when Kweli dropped The Proud. Have you heard that song?
Mm-mm.
That's from, I think it's from Equality. And he talks about 9/11, and he talks about how after the Oklahoma City bombing, everyone said Islamic terrorism. So when Kweli, he's talking about that back then, and that's still playing out now. And it really it gave me that people's perspective.
Yeah, I definitely relate, and I love strong love for hip hop. I tell people this a lot. Like in middle school, I barely went to school just because of I don't know, like the teaching. It was very oppressive. Like it was very oppressive, not just racially, but on like so many levels. They were trying to like instill this belief, not only of like glorifying like white supremacy, but also of like, trying to instill in me like a sense of self-worthlessness, like and the only time I got to escape that was through hip-hop. And it was like, you can listen to songs now and they don't phase you the same way when there's like that higher functioning vocabulary within it. But when you're in those developing ages, when you're in middle school and you hear a word you don't know and you like find out what it means, like you remember it because then you get to decode that song, not because you have a SAT test or like a standardized test. And I remember when I was in middle school, like my favorite Nas line was like, I think it was on that Jadakiss track, Why, where he's like, why they care about your son's braids more than they care for his grades. And that just like opened up my eyes. Like, I'm not crazy. Because you don't, when you're within the system at certain points, you can't see that there's a system in place. And hip hop really to me, it points at the system a lot of the time. But so did you find different political energies based on the geography of where the hip hop was coming from? Like you stated that the first tape you heard was like NWA, and then you heard some Pac, who he was very politically charged, but it wasn't until you heard Mos Def until like this door opening experience seemed to resonate. So could you speak on if you found any what those differences may be, and if there are any?
Yeah, I feel like hip hop music was my first travel experience. So it could help me see, I started to understand from listening to Wu-Tang, the Boroughs, or Bed-Stuy, Jamaica Queens, or Queensbridge from Nas, and it gave me this geography. So it was cool. And then when I hear about Pac, how he was talking about the West Coast, and then he was even cool with Junior Mafia and Biggie. He taught Biggie all that stuff. But I think really it's the same thing as why people like commercial rap. It takes you to this different place, and it's like a fantasy. So I would feel like I was Nas, or I felt like I was Cormega, or I felt like I was Kweli when I was listening to it. Same reason people like Drake and Future, because they feel like they're in the club with Rick Ross popping bottles on yachts. It's that same fantasy, that same escape. But I don't know, it all resonates with me. But that type of music, yeah, I don't know, it just resonated with me more. And as far as politics, the thing that got me even more politically charged was my parents always gave me a pretty good background of question religion. They wouldn't press religion on me too much. And then my mom was always anti-war. And when I was in high school, 9/11 happened when I was a sophomore. So then it pretty much became a draft in our high school. The military was there every day. we had Humvees lined up in the circle. They would come into our classes, they'd sit with us, they'd have like women, military people take us out to lunch every day. They'd buy me Wendy's every day. So like they like be kind of like flirtatious even. It was sick, man. And then they even infiltrated our gym classes. And then I was on the basketball team too. Then they came to our basketball practice and they're like, "You're good at this and this. We think you'd be great in the military. We'll pay for your college. We'll get you good money, give money to your mom." And like, as far as I know, they were all in like Denver public schools in Westminster, Adams 50, you know, the poor areas too. And I hated that, man. Like, I hated that they were there.
Did you see it for what it was?
Yeah, luckily I did at that time, and I attribute it to like quality and hip hop.
Oh. Is there a specific song? Would it be Proud or?
The Proud was a main one, I would say. But just listening to like Black on Both Sides and the New World Water and just like all that stuff, mathematics, how it all ties in, and how much is spent on prisons, the military, and Dead Prez. I'd really say Dead Prez was a big, when Let's Get Free came out, I was in high school, and the song Day Schools resonated with me so much. And then they were talking about Marcus Garvey and all this stuff. I started just like digging into it and learning, like, man, this is all like a lie. And then, yeah, it just kept on building. Because then I became friends with Common's dad on Colfax.
Wow.
And because he played for the Nuggets. And his dad was like friends with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. His dad had met Fred Hampton. His dad was part of the Marcus Garvey Society back in the day. And like then I like this was just the past 5 years of my life. And that's when I really like stuff started clicking together even more, of just learning about this messed up history.
Yeah. I remember that what got me with what RZA showed me Marcus Garvey. RZA.
Oh, nice.
I was listening to that track. So well done. I Can't Go to Sleep.
What album is that on?
It's on. I think it's on the W, and it's like a 2-part track. And like the first part of the track is "Let My Niggas Live," with and it's just Raekwon and Nas.
Oh wow.
And and it fades out, and when that track, the outro of that track is like you hear gunshots, and this woman starts crying like my baby, and then like it like plays into the next track, and it's just some dude, some old head is singing on it. I don't remember his name, but he's like a soul funk type of dude, and but he like Ghost has like the first line, and like he has the first verse, and he kind of like brings it to that personal like hood story type thing. You're just talking about like feds jumping out of vans, I can't go to sleep, babies with flies on their cheek, it's hard to go to sleep. And then and RZA comes in though on the second verse, and he just drops so much knowledge, and like it's one of those rare verses, you know when you like attach yourself to a rare verse.
Yeah.
Like, and you could tell he must have been in a certain state when he spit it, because he like he has a slur to it, so like it definitely like he sounds drunk, but like he just deported Marcus Garvey because he tried to spark us with the knowledge of ourselves and our forefathers. And then I was just like, oh, like I need to know who this person is, like who did they export? Like we export people now, like. But going on to that a more personal question. When you were talking about the man you had witnessed being stabbed, I know with me personally, certain things in hip hop, they would elicit emotions of violence. They would elicit like memories of violence, and they would make me like kind of like simmer with like anger. Like they would like if you went to war and like you heard like a engine backfire, and that like triggered your PTSD. Like I know for me, like certain songs would like trigger like moments in my. They still do, but like sometimes they would add context to the situations,
Oh yeah.
and sometimes they would just be like more raw emotion. Could you speak on maybe some songs that both added context to that and also just reminded you of the raw emotion
Of that event?
Yeah.
So I really related to It Was Written by Nas. And then like really just running through city landscapes. A lot of East Coast did that, like Ghostface and Nas, like even though Tupac called out Nas for copying him on that track that got shot, got out the hospital the same night. And then Ghostface, yeah, running down the fire escape. Like a lot of like East Coast and Wu-Tang stuff, it resonated with me because I feel like ever since I had seen that guy get stabbed, like I didn't hate, it was like a gang that did it. Like I didn't hate the gang, like I didn't hate the violence in the hip hop music. I felt like that's just the way it was because things were messed up. Like I felt like it was like it was something bigger, even though like I hated that happened. But like other songs was like Cormega, like just talking about like trying to get money. Like I don't know, I just like I like felt that struggle because I had always seen like my mom and dad were always broke and like trying not to lose their house. But really the running, so not so much when I heard violence it resonated with me. It was people trying to diagnose and get away from situations. So I felt like ever since he got stabbed, I resonated with like people describing city scenes and saying how they were messed up. And like I resonated with that because I felt like I was running in my mind ever since I saw that, so I wouldn't get stabbed. I thought I would get stabbed in my sleep. So like tracks like Far Side, like Running, and those stuff, like they resonated with me.
There's so much insight, you know, especially with the landscaping stuff, you know, because like I remember the verse meant a lot more to me after I heard about it, but that you know I heard that New York City housing projects, they will purposely have them low maintenance, and they would like from their conception there were things wrong with them. It wasn't like it became dilapidated over a space of time, or you know the property values in New York City were so crazy that it was like, you know, we can't give all these people like reduced housing.
There was like lead paint too, right?
Mm-hmm. And like, it was just so, like even like when I see my godmother, like the elevator in her building, it's like 50-50 chance it works, you know, like stuff like that. And to find out that was planned, you know, I felt like it was a very clear message. And like I remember the one, it was on It Was Written, I think Second Childhood, where he was like, once in the blue, always was clean, once in the blue, like something like that.
Oh yeah. And
like it was just like, yeah, like that's crazy. But I don't know, did you ever feel like you know, in the same way that you kind of said that like the military was flirtatious, did you ever feel like a strong kind of persuade to go into anything illegal, or like to follow this like mindset of like get money, you know, because like they joke all the time about how like rappers pretty much like some of them like lay out like a, you know, like a, you know, this is how you cop it, cook it, distribute it, you know, like this is how you protect your, you know, like
like inspired from rap to do that stuff?
Yeah.
Well, it gave me ideas, I'd say that. But if I wouldn't have been poor, I wouldn't have like thought about those ideas as much. I do teach here, so I wouldn't want like stuff talked about.
I
don't know. I don't care, but people maybe would get mad. But those apartments right over there, I used to steal those hubcaps when I was young. I used to steal rims from there. When we were younger, yeah, we used to sell like weed too, but I wasn't like directly inspired from hip hop. I listened to hip hop when we did all that, but
more like an anthem.
yeah, just what we listened to anyway. Something to get you hyped, like before basketball games. So listen to "Hate Me Now." That was like my track. Like before basketball games, but really, we were just so broke, man. Like we were just so broke. Like I remember listening to Outkast and all that. Like, man, one day we should get a Cadillac. You know, that was like I was inspired from the materialism of all that. But I do feel too that hip hop or a lot of music can be an advertisement for capitalism, like a lot of Jay-Z stuff. But you can't say it's hip hop. You got like the violence, like the stealing, the weapons. That's an interpretation of American society. Like same with homophobia. Like America is so homophobic, and it's not just in rap music. Like if you listen to Guns N' Roses, they say horrible stuff. A lot of rock says horrible stuff. They're skinhead bands. Guns N' Roses is really racist too. They have a couple tracks where they say like the N-word, and they're talking about immigrants taking over LA and all this. It's like, well, you should see like that's an interpretation of their reality that they're around. And American society is very violent. Like people are talking about gun control right now, but we're the #1 gun distributor to other countries. Like Obama, who has he has a peace prize. He just broke the record for the biggest gun or weapon sale in world history. So it's just a violent society and a violent country. Aside from what's going on in neighborhoods, just look at how violent the country is. Like our foreign policy.
I always hated that because, my dad was influenced by, it's kind of crazy, but it was like the symptoms of poverty, as well as, Scarface, he quoted as a big, make something from nothing, like embodiment almost, or perverse embodiment of like an American dream.
Yeah.
And then you see people around they say it was like this dude was nothing a week ago. He flipped a few keys off, and then he had the Cadillac, he had the whatever. And I always hated that because it was that reflection of capitalism within the music, when you see that it also has the power, is one of the I think one of the rarest things about hip